Part 1. The alarm sounded across the bridge of the UHSF Defender. Commander Jack Morrison looked up from his coffee and saw the red lights flashing. His tactical officer, Lieutenant Maya Collins, turned from her screen with worry in her eyes. "Commander, we have an unidentified vessel crossing into human space. They entered 5 minutes ago at Sector 7. Maya's fingers moved quickly over her controls. No response to our standard greeting. They are ignoring all channels. Jack set down his cup and walked to the main display. The ship appeared on screen, moving steadily through space that belonged to humanity. It was large, maybe 3 times the size of the Defender. The design was strange, all sharp angles and dark metal. "Run a scan. Tell me what we are dealing with," Jack ordered. Maya worked her console. "Sir, the ship belongs to the Creventhi Dominion. We have records on them. They are a powerful species, but they have always kept to their own territory before now." Jack knew the name. The Creventhi were known across the galaxy as conquerors. They took what they wanted, but they had never crossed into human space before. This was new. This was dangerous. "Try hailing them again," Jack said. "Use every frequency we have. I want to know why they are here." For 5 long minutes, there was only silence. Then the screen flickered. A face appeared. The Creventhi commander had 4 eyes and skin like dark stone. When it spoke, the voice was deep and cold. "Human vessel, you are in Creventhi territory now. This space is ours. We claim it for expansion. You have 48 hours to leave. Do not return." Jack felt his jaw tighten. "This is human space. It has been our territory for 70 years. You have no claim here. Turn your ship around and leave immediately." The Creventhi commander made a sound that might have been a laugh. "We have scanned this region. Your defenses are weak. Your ships are small. This is frontier space, and frontier space belongs to whoever is strong enough to take it. You are not strong enough." The screen went dark. Jack stood very still. Around him, the bridge crew waited. Finally, he turned to Maya. "Get me Admiral Blake. And send a priority message to all human ships in this sector. Tell them we have an incursion." Within the hour, more Creventhi ships appeared on the scanners. 5, then 10, then 20. They spread out along the border, a wall of dark metal hanging in space. Jack watched them gather and felt a cold weight in his chest. "Commander," Maya said quietly, "we are outnumbered. Should we fall back?" Jack looked at her. "Fall back to where? This is our space. If we leave now, they will think humans run when someone pushes us. They will take everything." Down in the science bay, Dr. Eric Stone was studying everything the sensors could tell him about the Creventhi. He was a thin man with glasses and nervous hands. Right now, those hands were moving fast across his screens. "Interesting," he muttered. "Very interesting." His assistant looked over. "What did you find?" "Their communications. I have been listening to what they say to each other. The Creventhi have conquered 12 other species. 12. But here is the strange part. They did it all without much fighting." "How?" "They show up with big ships and make threats. The other species get scared and surrender. The Creventhi have never met anyone who actually fought back. They do not know what real war looks like." On the bridge, Jack was talking to Admiral Blake on a secure channel. The Admiral's face filled the screen. He was an old man with gray hair and tired eyes. But those eyes were sharp. "Jack, I am sending you reinforcements. Every ship I can spare. But it will take time. Can you hold that position?" "We will hold, sir." "Good. The Creventhi think we are weak. Let them keep thinking that for now. When our ships arrive, we will show them what humans are really made of." Meanwhile, Ambassador Helen Carter was trying diplomacy. She sent message after message to the Creventhi fleet. She explained human history. She talked about borders and respect and peaceful coexistence. The Creventhi listened politely and then ignored every word. "They do not care," she told Jack later. "I have dealt with many species. But these Creventhi, they truly believe might makes right. They think because they have bigger ships, The space belongs to them. Then we will have to teach them different, Jack said. The hours counted down. 48 became 36. 36 became 24. Human ships began arriving. Small destroyers and frigates, taking positions alongside the Defender. It was not enough to match the Creventhi numbers, but it was something. Jack stood on his bridge and looked at the gathered fleet. Both sides now, human and Creventhi, facing each other across an invisible line in space. "Sir," Maya said, 12 hours left. What do we do when time runs out? Jack was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "We do what humans have always done. We stand our ground." The Creventhi commander watched the human ships gather. To him, they looked small and fragile. He had expected the humans to run. Most species did when they saw Creventhi power. But these humans were staying. How strange. "Perhaps they do not understand," his second officer said. "Should we show them what our weapons can do?" "Not yet," the commander said. "Let them worry for a while longer. Fear is a useful tool. When the deadline comes, they will leave. They all do in the end." But as the hours passed, the Creventhi commander started to wonder. The human ships were not running. They were not even moving back. They just sat there, waiting. It made him uneasy in a way he did not quite understand. On the Defender, Jack was making plans with his captains. They all knew the odds. They all knew what might happen. But not one of them suggested retreat. "We have families back on Earth," one captain said. "We have colonies throughout this sector. If we let the Creventhi take this space, what comes next? Do they take more? Do they keep pushing until they reach Earth itself? That is why we hold the line here," Jack said. "This far and no farther. Let every species in the galaxy see that human space means something. Let them see that we defend what is ours." Part 2. The deadline was 6 hours away when Admiral Richard Blake called a meeting. In the war room of his flagship, officers gathered around a large table. Maps of human space glowed on the walls. Red marks showed where the Creventhi fleet waited. "We need to make them understand," Blake said. "The Creventhi think this is just empty frontier. They do not know what this space cost us." Captain Nicole Price from Intelligence stood up. She was a young woman with serious eyes. "Sir, I have been studying Creventhi history. They have never lost territory. Not once in 500 years. Every species they have met either surrendered or died." "Then they are due for a new experience," Blake said. In the corner of the room sat Leon Grant. He was an old soldier now, with white hair and a scarred face. He had fought in the Proxima Wars 40 years ago, back when humanity was still learning how to survive in space. "Admiral," Leon said quietly, "may I tell them about Proxima? I think it matters now." Blake nodded. "Please do." Leon stood slowly. His old bones ached, but his voice was strong. "Proxima 4 was our first real colony. 5,000 people. Farmers, miners, families. We thought we were alone in that part of space. We were wrong." He paused, remembering. "The raiders came in the night. We still do not know what species they were. They hit the colony hard. Killed 2,000 people in the first hour. The rest of us, we had nothing. No warships. No weapons. Just mining equipment and desperate hands." "What happened?" a young officer asked. "We fought anyway," Leon said. "With tools. With rocks. With bare hands if we had to. We lost another 1,000 people. But we held them off for 3 days until help arrived. And we learned something important. We learned that humans do not surrender. Not when it is our home. Not when it is our people." The room was quiet. Then Leon continued. "After Proxima, we built defenses. Real defenses. We made sure every colony had protection. We made sure no one could just take what was ours. That is why this space matters. Every meter of it was bought with human blood." Ambassador Helen Carter had been listening. Now she spoke up. "I have been trying to explain our history to the Creventhi. They do not want to hear it. To them, the past does not matter. Only strength matters. Then we will speak in a language they understand, Blake said. He turned to his tactical officers. Prepare a demonstration. I want every ship we have to perform synchronized maneuvers. Show them that we are not some weak frontier rabble. Show them what trained human forces can do. 2 hours later, the human fleet moved. Ships that had been sitting still suddenly came alive. They performed complex patterns, weaving between each other with perfect precision. Weapon systems powered up in coordinated displays. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. The Creventhi watched. Their commander studied the display with his 4 eyes. They are more organized than I thought, he admitted to his officers. But organization is not the same as strength. We still outnumber them 2 to 1. Should we respond? His weapons officer asked. No. Let them dance. It changes nothing. When the deadline comes, we will advance. They will either leave or we will destroy them. Back on the Defender, Jack received reports from Captain Price. Sir, our intelligence shows the Creventhi have never actually fought a war. Every conquest was over in days or weeks. The other species just gave up. Why did they give up? Jack asked. Fear mostly. The Creventhi have big ships and they know how to intimidate. But when I look at their actual battle records, there is almost nothing there. A few small skirmishes. Nothing sustained. Nothing bloody. Jack thought about that. They have never been tested. Exactly. They do not know what happens when someone fights back. Really fights back. Then this will be educational for them, Jack said. Ambassador Carter made one more attempt. She recorded a message and sent it to the Creventhi commander. In it, she spoke slowly and clearly. Commander, I know you think humans are weak. I know you see our small ships and think we will run. But I want you to understand something. Humans have been fighting for survival since before we left our home planet. We have fought disease, famine, war, and extinction. We have faced things that should have destroyed us, and we are still here. She took a breath. This space you want to take, it is not just territory to us. It is our future. Our children will grow up here. Our grandchildren will build lives here. And we will defend it with everything we have. Please, turn your ships around. Leave in peace. Do not make us show you what humans are capable of when we are protecting our home. The Creventhi commander watched the message. When it ended, he sat back in his command chair. For a moment, something like doubt crossed his face. Then he pushed it away. Empty words, he told his crew. All species make threats when they are afraid. The humans are no different. In 3 hours, they will see our weapons charge. Then they will understand and leave. But some of his officers were not so sure. They had watched the human fleet maneuver. They had seen the precision, the discipline. These were not the actions of a species that planned to run. 3 hours became 2. 2 became 1. The tension in both fleets grew thicker than the void of space between them. Human crews checked their weapons. Creventhi crews did the same. Everyone knew what was coming. On the Defender, Maya looked at her commander. Sir, 30 minutes until the deadline. Jack nodded. He opened a channel to all human ships. All vessels, this is Commander Morrison. In 30 minutes, the Creventhi will expect us to leave. We will not leave. We will hold this line. If they attack, we will defend ourselves with every weapon we have. Stand ready. Stand firm. Show them what it means to cross into human space. Across the fleet, captains acknowledged. Weapons were armed. Shields were raised. Every eye watched the Creventhi ships. The final minutes ticked away. 10, 5, 1. Then the deadline passed. The human fleet did not move. The Creventhi commander stared at his screens. They are still there, he said, surprised. Yes, Commander, his second said. What are your orders? The commander hesitated. This had never happened before. Every other species had left by now. He looked at his fleet, then at the small human ships that refused to budge. Send a minor force, he finally said. A few ships only. We will test their resolve. If they run, we advance. If they fight, we will see how brave they really are. Part 3. 5 Creventhi warships broke from their formation. They moved forward slowly, weapons glowing with stored energy. On the human side, alarms sounded across every bridge. "They are coming," Maya said. Her voice was steady, but her hands gripped her console tight. Jack watched the approaching ships. "All fighters, launch. Form defensive screen. Do not fire unless fired upon. Let them make the first move." Lieutenant Kyle Harper sat in the cockpit of his fighter. He was young, only 25, but he had trained his whole life for moments like this. Around him, 30 other fighters launched from the Defender and her sister ships. "Blue Squadron, form up on me," Kyle said into his radio. "Stay tight. Watch each other's backs." The fighters spread out in a pattern, small and fast compared to the massive Creventhi vessels. They looked like insects buzzing around giants. The Creventhi ships kept coming. When they were close enough, they opened fire. Not at the big human ships. At the fighters. They thought the small craft would scatter and run. They were wrong. "Evasive maneuvers," Kyle shouted. His fighter spun and dove. Energy bolts streaked past, missing by meters. 2 fighters were not so lucky. They exploded in bright flashes. But the remaining fighters did not run. Instead, they attacked. Kyle led his squadron straight at the Creventhi ships, firing missiles and railguns. The weapons were small compared to the alien vessels, but they were accurate. "Hit their engines," Kyle ordered. "Make them slow down." The fighters swarmed. They used tactics the Creventhi had never seen before. Quick strikes, then retreat. Attack from one side, then the other. Never stay still. Never give them an easy target. On one of the Creventhi ships, the captain was furious. "Why can we not hit them? They are so small." "They move too fast, sir," his gunner said. "And they fight like they have nothing to lose." Meanwhile, the human capital ships were not idle. The border station, which the Creventhi had thought was just a civilian outpost, suddenly showed its teeth. Chief Engineer Paula Dixon had been working in secret for hours. "Power to weapons now," she shouted to her crew. "Reroute everything. Life support to minimum. All energy goes to the guns." The station lit up. Weapons that should not exist on a civilian structure opened fire. Heavy railguns and missile batteries. The Creventhi ships reeled from the unexpected assault. "What is this?" the Creventhi commander demanded from his flagship. Intelligence said that station was unarmed. "It was unarmed, sir," his intelligence officer said nervously. "On paper. But they must have been building weapons in secret." One of the attacking Creventhi ships took a direct hit from the station. Its shields failed. Another missile struck its hull. The ship began to list, damaged but not destroyed. The Creventhi captain of that ship made a choice. He would board the station. If he could take it from the inside, the humans would lose their strongest position. He sent the order. Boarding pods launched. The pods slammed into the station's hull. Creventhi soldiers poured out, heavily armed and confident. They had done this before to other species. It always worked. Then they met Sergeant Danny Ross. Danny was a big man with scars on his arms and fire in his eyes. He led a squad of 20 Marines. They knew every corridor of this station, every hiding spot, every ambush point. "Let them come," Danny said to his squad. "This is our house. Time to teach them about home advantage." The Creventhi soldiers advanced through the corridors. They expected frightened civilians or maybe a few guards. Instead, they walked into a killing zone. The Marines hit them from everywhere. From above through ceiling panels. From behind through hidden doors. They used the station itself as a weapon, venting atmosphere in some corridors, sealing others to trap the invaders. Danny's squad fought with brutal efficiency. They did not stand and trade shots. They hit hard, then disappeared, then hit again from a different angle. The Creventhi, used to overwhelming force, did not know how to fight this way. "Fall back!" a Creventhi officer shouted. "Fall back to the pods." But half his soldiers were already down. The rest stumbled back through corridors that seemed to twist and turn against them. Some never made it. They were cut off and captured by Danny's Marines. Outside, the space battle continued. More human ships arrived. They were still outnumbered, but they fought with a fury the Creventhi had never encountered. Every ship that took damage kept fighting. Every crew that lost members kept their positions. Kyle Harper's fighter squadron destroyed the engines of one Creventhi ship. It drifted, helpless, unable to maneuver or retreat. The other 4 attacking ships began to pull back. "They are running," one of Kyle's pilots said with amazement. "Do not chase them," Kyle ordered. "Reform at the line. We hold our position." On the Creventhi flagship, the commander watched his test force retreat. 3 ships damaged. 1 crippled. The boarding assault had failed completely, and the humans had not given a single meter of space. "Commander," his second officer said quietly, "this is not like the others. These humans, they fight differently." "I can see that," the commander said. His 4 eyes were troubled. For the first time in his long career, he was facing an enemy that refused to be intimidated. On the Defender, Jack received damage reports. 2 fighters lost. The station had some hull breaches. 3 crew members wounded. But the line had held. "Send a message to the Creventhi," Jack said. "Tell them this. This is human space. We warned them once. We will not warn them again." The message was sent. The Creventhi commander read it. His hands tightened on his command chair. Pride warred with caution in his mind. "Call for reinforcements," he finally said. "All ships in the nearest sectors. If the humans want a real battle, we will give them one they cannot win." Part 4. The Creventhi reinforcements arrived within hours. 50 more ships, each one massive and armed. They gathered with the original fleet, creating a force that blocked out the stars. On paper, the humans had no chance. But Vice Admiral Gordon Wells was already 3 steps ahead. From his command ship, he watched the enemy gather. He was a thin man with sharp eyes and a mind like a chess master. "Captain Hayes," he said to the commander of his stealth ship, "I need eyes on their supply lines. Find me their weak points." Captain Oliver Hayes nodded. His ship, the Silent Runner, was built for reconnaissance. It could slip past enemy sensors like a ghost. Within the hour, it was gone, moving silently through space toward the Creventhi rear positions. While Hayes gathered intelligence, Dr. Christine Ford worked on something different. She was a specialist in psychological warfare, and she had been listening to every Creventhi transmission she could intercept. "They are scared," she told Admiral Wells. "Not all of them, but enough. The soldiers who fought at the station, the ones who survived, they are telling stories. They say humans fight like demons. That we do not fear death." "Are they right?" Wells asked. "About the fear?" "Yes. We fear death. But we fear losing our home more. That is what they do not understand." Ambassador Carter tried one more time to reach the Creventhi. She sent a final message, knowing it might be her last chance to prevent a full war. "Commander, you have brought more ships. You think you can overwhelm us with numbers. Perhaps you can. But I want you to consider the cost. How many of your soldiers will die? How many ships will be destroyed? All for space that you do not even need." She paused, choosing her next words carefully. "Leave now. Leave with your honor intact. No one needs to die today. But if you attack, we will defend ourselves with everything we have. And I promise you, the Creventhi Dominion will remember this day for all the wrong reasons." The Creventhi commander listened. He looked at his gathered fleet. He thought about his easy conquests in the past. Then he thought about the humans who had refused to run, who had fought his soldiers in the corridors of that station, who had destroyed his ships with fighters that should have been helpless. But pride is a powerful thing. And the Creventhi had never retreated. Not in 500 years. "We attack at dawn," he said to his fleet. "All ships. Full assault. We will crush them and take what is ours." When Ambassador Carter received the response, she closed her eyes for a moment. Then she opened a channel to Admiral Wells. "Diplomacy has failed, sir. They are coming." "Then we fight," Wells said simply. He activated the fleet-wide channel. "All ships, all stations, all personnel. The Creventhi have chosen war. Execute Defense Plan Omega. Show them why no one enters human space uninvited. The Creventhi fleet moved forward like a tidal wave of metal and fire. They came in formation, guns blazing, confident in their overwhelming force. This was how they had conquered 12 species. This was how empires were built. The human fleet met them head-on. But not in the way the Creventhi expected. Instead of a line of ships trying to hold position, the humans scattered into smaller groups. They moved fast, using the asteroids and debris fields as cover. "They are running!" a Creventhi officer shouted. "No," their commander said slowly. "They are positioning. This is a trap." He was right. The human ships led the Creventhi deeper into the system. And then the Real defense revealed itself. Hidden throughout the border zone were platforms. Weapons platforms that had been built in secret over the past 10 years. Hundreds of them. They activated all at once. Missiles launched from asteroids. Railguns fired from hidden bunkers on dead moons. Energy weapons lit up the darkness. The Creventhi fleet found itself in a crossfire from every direction. "Evasive action!" the Creventhi commander shouted. But his big ships were too slow. They had been built for intimidation, not for agility. The first wave of missiles struck home. Kyle Harper led his fighter squadron through the chaos. His mission was specific. Target the Creventhi flagship. Make the commander understand that no one was safe. "Blue squadron on me," Kyle said. "We go for the big one. Use the kamikaze drones." The kamikaze drones were a new weapon. Small, fast, and packed with explosives. They were controlled by AI and had one purpose: get through the defenses and hit the target. Kyle's squadron launched their drones and immediately broke away. The drones swarmed toward the flagship. Creventhi point defense systems shot down many of them. But not all. 5 drones got through. They struck the flagship's shields simultaneously. The shields held, but just barely. Alarms blared across the Creventhi command ship. The commander felt his ship shudder. "Damage report," he demanded. "Shields at 40%, sir. They will fail if we take another hit like that." Meanwhile, Captain Hayes and the Silent Runner had found what they were looking for. The Creventhi supply ships, hanging back from the battle, undefended. They carried fuel, ammunition, and parts. "Admiral," Hayes reported, "I have eyes on their supply line. 12 ships, minimal escort. Permission to engage." "Granted," Wells said. "Cut them off." The Silent Runner attacked. It was not built for combat, but it carried enough missiles for one good strike. Hayes targeted the supply ships and fired everything he had. Then he ran, disappearing back into the dark before the Creventhi could respond. 8 supply ships exploded. The others scattered. Suddenly, the Creventhi fleet had a problem. They were deep in human space with limited supplies and no way to get more. The battle raged for hours. Human losses mounted. Ships were destroyed. Good people died. But the Creventhi were bleeding too. And they were bleeding worse. They were not used to this kind of fight. Danny Ross and his Marines captured a Creventhi officer during a boarding action. They brought him before Admiral Wells via video link. "Why do you fight so hard?" the officer asked. "This is just one system. You could find other space." Wells looked at him. "Because it is ours. Because if we let you take it, you will never stop. Because humans learned long ago that the only way to have peace is to be strong enough that no one dares attack us." The Creventhi officer was quiet. Then he said, "Your species has never lost a war, have you?" "We have lost many battles," Wells said. "But we have never surrendered. Not once in our entire history." On the Creventhi flagship, the commander looked at his fleet. 20 ships destroyed. 30 more damaged. Supplies running low. And the humans were still fighting. Still refusing to break. He had never seen anything like it. Part 5. The Creventhi commander sat in his damaged command chair. Around him, his bridge crew worked frantically to keep systems online. Outside, the battle still raged, but it was clear now who was winning. It was not supposed to be like this. The humans were supposed to run. Every species ran eventually. But these humans, they kept fighting. Ship after ship, they kept coming. Even when they were damaged, even when they were dying, they kept fighting. "Sir," his second officer said quietly, "we have lost a third of our fleet. Our supplies are nearly gone. And the humans just received more reinforcements." The commander looked at his screens. More human ships were arriving every hour. Where were they all coming from? How did such a small species have so many vessels ready to fight? The answer was simple. Every human colony had ships. Every station had weapons. When the call went out that human space was under attack, they all came. Miners in old cargo haulers with improvised guns. Colonists in passenger ships converted to carry missiles. Even civilian volunteers, flying whatever they could find. This was not a military defending its borders. This was an entire species defending its home. "Commander," the communications officer said, "the humans are broadcasting a message. They say they will accept our surrender." Surrender. The word hung in the air like poison. The Creventhi had never surrendered. Not in 500 years of conquest. To surrender now would be unthinkable. But to continue fighting would be suicide. The commander closed his 4 eyes. When he opened them again, he had made his choice. Open a channel to the human fleet. I will speak with their commander. The screen flickered. Admiral Blake appeared, his face showing the strain of battle but his eyes still sharp. Behind him, Jack Morrison stood at attention. "I am Admiral Blake of the United Human Space Forces," the old man said. "You wanted to speak?" The Creventhi commander struggled with the words. "We will withdraw. We will leave your space. But we will not surrender." Blake was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Call it what you want. But you will leave. All of your ships. All of your forces. You will return to your own territory and you will not come back." "Agreed," the Creventhi commander said. The word tasted bitter. "One more thing," Blake added. "We will escort your ships to the border. To make sure you leave. And if you ever cross into human space again, we will not offer terms. We will simply destroy you. Do you understand?" The Creventhi commander nodded slowly. He understood. He understood perfectly. The Creventhi fleet began its retreat. Human ships surrounded them, weapons ready, making sure they kept moving. It was the most shameful moment in Creventhi history. But it was also the moment they finally learned what the rest of the galaxy would soon understand. Humans were different. On the Defender, Ambassador Carter spoke privately with the Creventhi commander before he left. She wanted him to understand, not just fear. "We did not want this war," she said. "We tried to avoid it. But you need to understand something about humans. We have been fighting for survival since before we learned to make fire. Every generation of our species has faced extinction in some form. Disease, famine, war, ice ages, asteroids. We have survived them all." She looked him in his 4 eyes. "That survival instinct is in our bones. When you threatened our space, you threatened our children, our future. And humans will do anything, sacrifice anything, to protect that. It is not cruelty. It is not hate. It is simply who we are." The Creventhi commander was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "I will tell my people what I learned here. The humans are not weak. They are not to be challenged. Their space is sovereign." "That is all we ever wanted," Carter said. "Respect. Nothing more." Dr. Stone spoke with some of the Creventhi soldiers before they left. He was curious about their perspective. One soldier, young and shaken, told him something interesting. "We fought on that station," the soldier said. "Your Sergeant Ross and his warriors. They fought like they had already accepted death. Like dying did not scare them as long as they took us with them. I have never seen anything like it." "We do fear death," Stone said. "But we fear losing our home more. Do you understand the difference?" The soldier nodded. He understood now. That was why the Creventhi had lost. Leon Grant, the old veteran, met with some of the Creventhi officers. There was a strange respect between them now. The kind that only comes from shared battle. "You are brave warriors," a Creventhi officer said. "I can admit that now." "So are you," Leon said. "You just never had to prove it before. Easy victories teach nothing. But now you know what real war looks like." The Creventhi fleet crossed the border and kept going. They did not stop. They did not look back. And in the weeks that followed, word spread across the galaxy. The Creventhi Dominion, the unstoppable conquerors, had been turned back by humans. The news traveled fast. Other species took notice. Some were worried. If humans could defeat the Creventhi, what else might they do? But most were simply impressed. And more importantly, they learned to respect human borders. Admiral Blake established permanent defense stations all along the human frontier. Not because he expected more attacks, but because he knew the lesson had to be maintained. Strength kept peace. Weakness invited war. Dr. Ford compiled reports on the psychological impact of the battle. She found that the Creventhi had already started changing their approach to other species. No more casual invasions. No more assumptions of easy conquest. They had learned that some species could not be intimidated. 3 months after the battle, something interesting happened. A new alien vessel approached human space. It was from a species humans had never met before. The Velnari Confederacy. Jack Morrison, still commanding the Defender, watched the ship approach. His hand hovered over the weapons controls. But this time was different. The alien ship stopped at the border. They broadcast on all frequencies. The message was simple and respectful.